Rocking Chair Session. With Elisa Di Battista and Maria Teresa Barber.
Hi everyone,
and welcome to RCS Rocking Chair Sessions number 30, volume 30, with artist Claudio Marcotulli.
Hi Claudio.
Hello Claudio.
Hello, hi.
Thank you for coming out to sit and talk with us for a bit.
Thank you for the invitation. It's great to be here.
Yeah, well, it's a nice, quite quiet Monday night. I don't want to jinx it here at the Big House Art Complex. It's quite serene, so we're hoping our sound is extra on point today.
Pristine.
Yes.
And we're going to talk a lot about sound.
Yes.
And we're going to talk a lot about film and video today. Did we say that Claudio is a filmmaker?
No, you just said it now, so that's pretty great.
And Claudio is the first filmmaker that we have in Rocking Chair Sessions.
Yeah. Bravo.
Really?
Yeah, we're excited.
And we are in number 30. Did you say
I
that?
know, I
Number 30, and you're the first filmmaker. So we are very happy to expand our media, and we really want to give the creative community
the
a
full
voice
spectrum.
here, and the full spectrum, not just visual artists. But because of course, it's easy for us. We have so many visual artists in this building, right? But we're really happy that you're here today.
Thank you so much. Yes, film is my main medium of work, but I also have been performing as a performer, as an actor. It's been about maybe 8 years that I started to be more active as a performer and use a space physically and get involved with other artists that do performance. And I don't know if you know Jose Manuel Dominguez. I was working with him in a piece called Nomadis, and we worked for about a year in rehearsing and developing the piece, and then we toured around Florida with that piece, which was a great experience. But yes, I feel very comfortable saying that my main craft is of filmmaking. That's what I went to study, and that's what I also got my master, and that's what I've been doing the most. And I teach also film as well.
And you studied in Boston.
That's right.
I read on your website.
Yeah, I am very fortunate to be able to live in that city for about 4 years. And also went to school that I adore. And
what was the name of the school?
Emerson College.
Emerson College. How did you end up in Boston?
You know, I had a good friend. I have a good friend that he's now in Madrid, but he went to school to the same school that I went. And at that time I was traveling around. I went to Maine, and I was not really so much into film, meaning I was more into aviation and flying. And
you have a degree also in aviation engineering, something?
I took classes for flying, so I got about 100 hours log that I flew on a single engine airplane, and I wanted to become a commercial pilot.
Wow.
Yeah, because I thought, what a great way of living, flying and making money out of that, But I feel like I'm more of a dreamer flying pilot. Actually today, if I think about just taking passengers and going from point A to point B, I don't know if that's exactly what I want to do. Though I respect very much those who do that, because that's something that I love. But I feel more like I would like to be just flying, even pulling a banner on the beach, I'd rather
cargo airplane, or one of those tourist pleasure airplanes, I guess,
or taking
commercial ones.
Maybe people on a helicopter for expedition, or fixing wires with a helicopter or something like more feeling the machine, feeling the craft, the aircraft. And that's the kind of flying that I like. I started flying paragliding, which is like something that you jump out of a cliff and you take off and you fly and you
They do that a lot in Austria.
They do?
Yeah, because we have these high mountains. They just jump off the mountains.
Have you done it?
Never.
So delicious.
I would love to.
That make you feel like you're a bird.
You've done it?
Oh, I flew for many years.
But not like out of the airplanes here.
No, not skydiving. This is like taking off from a paragliding.
Yeah.
It's similar to hang gliding, which is more common, or people know more about hang gliding.
Yeah, hang gliding is like the triangular thingy, and you have a iron bar.
It's a bar that you hold on to.
You hold on to, and you put your feet in a little sack. It's like a sleeping bag.
So bizarre.
And then you
it's like pre-drone, which I know you've used in some of your films. It's like that bird's eye view that cinematographers have, that ability to just like see the whole picture.
You know what is great? Now I'm sitting on a rocking chair. This is actually kind of like the feeling. You are sitting on a chair, and you don't even see the wind, because on a hang glider you see the wind right here, right on your right, on your left arm. For those that can see well, I mean, I'm describing, but
hang glider, yeah.
Yeah, but in the paraglider you have these lines that connect to the wing in the top, and it's like 5 meters. That's about 15 feet away from you, so you don't really see it much, and you're feeling like flying on a chair. So it's like a magic chair. You sit on the chair.
This is also a magic chair.
Oh my God.
And this is a magic chair. So let's fly.
So I guess I'm curious, because you said.
But where did you do the paragliding?
In Venezuela, where I grew up.
You grew up in Venezuela.
In Caracas.
In Caracas.
Yeah.
And you have mountains in Venezuela?
Oh, a lot.
Really?
Actually, the city is in a valley, and we have a huge mountain called El Ávila, and it's a mountain that how high is El Ávila? I know the point where we used to jump to go to the beach was 1,600 feet, I believe.
Wow.
No, meters.
Meters, yeah,
1,600. That's
That's still taller than
1,600
anything
meters.
else,
That's high.
That's like. Is that right? I know, I kind of doubt it. But
sounds about right to me.
For sure above 1,000 meters, because the highway is 1,000 meter high, and this is way above the highway. So we jump from that mountain into the ocean, so we gain another 1,000 meters. So yes, it's like a 35-minute gliding down trip, even with no currents of air that would take.
So even if it doesn't lift you,
it would take you half an hour just to glide down. So it's a pretty high mountain.
And you would go from land to water. Once again, like for those of you that haven't seen Claudio's work, like you have that. It's kind of like a pairing. You do land and water. I'm just seeing similarities here, but continue.
I'm still so attracted to flying, and I find that if I could just if I ever reincarnate into an animal, I'd rather be a bird, to tell you the truth.
What kind of bird?
I like seagulls. You know what I like? I like which people would say, why do you like that kind of bird? But the vultures.
The vultures that eat the dead?
Yeah.
The dead,
I don't like the raw beef quality of that, but if we put that aside, they are the best flyers.
Really?
Oh, these are animals that know about air. I've been flying with them around me. I almost became like this is like I could recognize some of them.
They adopted you, but they like look at you and be like, hey.
Some of them may have a feather that was a little bit funky because of a fight or who knows what, and I would see them often because I would fly every day. So I would say, oh, look at that, that's him, and that's, and he would come close and fly around. I mean, they know about flying, like almost no other bird. I like hawks and eagles, of course. The hummingbird, that's another one that flies so beautiful.
And the hummingbird also knows how to fly backwards, right? That's the only bird. What bird would you be?
I don't know. I'm curious because I'm thinking, we're in South Florida, so I would definitely be a South Florida bird. You've layered birds into your videos as well. We noticed that in the film you sent us today to see. And I'm thinking I would probably be, I went to the University of Miami, not to name drop or anything, but I would be an ibis. Home of the hurricanes, where ibis is. An ibis is the last creature to leave before a hurricane, and it's the first creature to come back when it's safe.
Really?
So I would be an ibis.
I'm not familiar with that kind of bird.
The ibis, it's basically a white looking bird that has like a hooked nose that points downwards.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like
my
pink.
garden, running around, picking out the worms.
Oh, it's like I know it. There's why
They're
I've
all
seen,
over.
Yes, that's Sebastian. That's the mascot of the University of Miami.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. That's why, hence the hurricanes, because it's the first one to come back and the last one to leave.
They're very Floridian.
They're super Floridian and very brave creatures. Yeah.
Oh, so my bird is the swan. That has always been the swan. It's like, and I was also attacked by a swan in Germany one day, but it's always been the swan. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't shake it.
I'm curious to know, because you went from this journey, Claudio, I guess, just to get back on track a little bit, from deciding that you were going to pursue becoming a pilot, okay, and then you decided this is not what I want to do. What was your journey before that? Like, did you ever handle film before that you're like, maybe I want to go into film?
Yeah.
Could you discuss that a little bit for us?
Yeah, I remember telling a good friend of mine saying, if I wouldn't be embarked in this route of becoming a pilot, in fact, I actually left my pilot classes to pursue an aerospace engineering major. And that was more due to family pressure. And I can expand a little bit on that, but it's kind of like, I guess I come from a culture where, my parents kind of, and it's very common, they want you to succeed, that's for sure. And they say, well, you have to be either a lawyer, an architect, or an engineer, or something of that kind of, the leagues, the major leagues. And artists doesn't seem to be in that spectrum, right? And neither a pilot. A pilot, for my father, is considered you are the chauffeur of somebody else, which is very despective, and I'm not appreciate that from my dad. If he's listening, he can know that that's what I think today. Though I love my father big time.
Respect.
Because he encouraged me to do.
Greetings, Dad.
Yeah, I love you, Dad. Yes. But there's things that I don't agree regarding that approach. But
to each their own.
Yeah, exactly. I'm 44, so I'm not a kid anymore.
You can have your own opinions. It's all right.
I went to aerospace engineering, and I told my friend, listen, if I wouldn't be in this, I know that I would be delighted to do film, because my grandfather was in the film business.
Oh.
Yeah, he was on my mother's side. He was actually involved with two major companies. One was Universal Pictures and 20th Century Fox.
Wow, that's amazing.
He got to be, this is from my grandmother's words. She wrote me a letter about the history, because my grandfather already had passed away, and I wanted to learn more. And she wrote me a letter, and she said, he was general manager of Universal Picture in Rome, in Italy. So he was managing all the distribution in Rome. And he got to meet people like Marlon Brando, Alfred Hitchcock, Federico Fellini, which I adore. Wow. And when I was listening to this, I'm dreaming. This cannot be truth. Is it? I went to school, studied all of that, and now that I'm learning all this, with the in depth. Anyhow, so my grandfather had a lot of great opportunities to meet amazing artists, but he was more into the distribution aspect of filmmaking. And he loved films. He would watch films every day. I remember that. One thing that I remember from I remember two things related to film about my grandfather. One was that looking at the newspaper, looking for which picture we're going to watch, that's a great sensation. Just looking at the picture, and by the picture, seeing, oh, I want to see that one. That's something that I miss these days. Mm-hmm. I don't see that, just getting the paper in your hands and seeing the print. And the excitement of going to see a movie. And the other thing, he would actually, and he ended up owning movie theaters in Panama, where he passed away. And my mother is from Panama. And
so they moved from Italy to Panama?
Yeah.
That's the journey of your grandfather?
Actually, from Italy, from Rome to New York. And at New York, he became vice president of Universal Pictures, believe it or not. Huge,
incredible. Like an Italian immigrant became.
Yeah. Well, he was actually born in Cartagena, Colombia.
Wow. So the journey goes.
So he was born in Colombia, spent time in Italy, then was in New York.
And he actually moved soon at his early age to Miami. So I discovered that I have roots in Miami from
that you didn't
even know. Her mother, I believe, so that would be my great-grandmother, died in Miami.
Oh my God.
And I want to find where was that house where she lived, because I've been trying to search.
Yes.
And I think it was near Coconut Grove. And I have to.
It'd be so great. Please keep us posted if you find that.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes, I need to devote more time to do that research. I always wanted. I asked my mom. My mom doesn't know, but I say, why don't you ask the people that are still living in Colombia,
or you might
in
have
Bogota,
to go into the archives if you find any things with the name.
Yeah.
In the library.
I'm gonna do that. I have to devote time to do that. It's important for me.
Yeah.
Because I have blood
roots,
in Florida.
Yeah.
I have, I mean,
before you even realize it, because
a long time before even I was born. That was my grandfather's childhood, and he came here, so he spoke perfect English, and then from New York. He decided. I think there was a moment where Paramount Pictures and Universal Pictures wanted to merge, or some of that kind. I can't recall exactly what was the business deal that they had at that moment. And my grandfather wasn't happy with that. And he said, I really don't agree with this. I feel like for some reason, he respects very much his boss, which Milton Rackmill was his direct boss. And then he had the Wasserman, which was another monster in the
industry.
In the industry. And he said, no, I'm gonna open my own business, and he called his movie theater Universal.
Oh.
Because on the company that he worked for so long, he said, I'm gonna call it on Universal. And that was the theater. I used to go to that theater when I was a kid to watch movies for free.
Your grandfather's
theater.
Theater. That's amazing.
So I got that from early childhood. The
love for film.
Yeah, I got it, but I was more embarked in aviation and flying, and then I realized I'm more of a storyteller, and I like to, everything that my father, on the other side of the family, my father's side, he also supported me very much by giving me a video camera, where video cameras were not so common as today. Every phone now has a video camera, but in those days to have a video camera was hard. And he got me a Beta movie camera, which used like a big VHS tapes in it.
Wow! Before they had the small.
Yeah. This is. I was 8 years old.
Wow.
This is a while ago.
Wow.
And
that's unusual for such a small kid.
Very
to have a
unusual.
Camera like
very
that.
unusual.
Yeah.
I still have some tapes around that with footage. I remember I did a documentary. I was 8 years old. My first documentary was it's called cicada in English. I don't know how to. Cicada.
Yeah.
They live underground for like 5 years, and then they bloom out of the earth, and then
horrible noise. Yes.
You don't like the noise?
It's like, when there's a sea of them.
I love them so much.
It's like the campo. It's like countryside. Like it's like they start making because they want to mate again before they go back underground, and then when they die, it's like the stenches. I mean, I saw it in Maryland a few years back.
Noise. In Venezuela, I mean, there are different kinds. I learned that by making this last film that I've been doing, the latest. I look for the Senu. Yeah, Senu with a Z. Senu. I look for the sound of cicadas because I remember that from my childhood. So I start searching online, where can I find cicadas? And then I found a library, and I hear this. They sound slightly different from the ones in Venezuela, but they are cicadas nevertheless. And I use that sound at the beginning in the movie where there is a train approaching towards the screen.
Beautiful shot, wonderful. You're
with the layering,
walking against the train.
And the birds.
and the birds flying. Yeah, those birds.
It's just like incredible that shot that just happened the way it did,
just
right?
really was well, I tell you, the composition we studied, like, I think 90% of the film shots were very highly studied, and we pre-composed. And I mean we, because I work very close with a cinematographer friend of mine, Pedro Guevara, who is brilliant and has a very, very sharp eye.
Is he also local here in South Florida?
He's local.
Cool.
Yeah, from Venezuela.
Nice.
And him and me click very much, and so it's quite a pleasure. And then there's another person that I really admire and like very much is Hernando Garcia, and Hernando is a person that loves cameras. He loves cameras so much, and that pleasure you feel it. You can.
It creates a different environment altogether when you have people that you're.
So good, and he invests whatever amount of money he wants in camera equipment. Like, that's the kind of people that, if you love something, you invest in it, and you invest in the best gear. And so he got this awesome cinema camera, and I met him through going to the store that they have in Wynwood. Can I say the name?
Yeah, good job.
Please do.
Red. It's a camera that is used in film, and so I end up meeting Hernando there through the manager of the store. And I told him about the story, what I'm doing, this and that, and he loved it, and he supported 100%. We got that camera in a small aluminum boat that I was afraid that thing was gonna ever sink. No, I mean, we were safe, but still, you were taking risk. It's the risk, you're on the water, over water, with a very expensive equipment. This camera by itself costs more than what I invest in the whole movie, just the camera.
The cameras are incredible.
Camera alone. It's always the equipment.
It's the equipment, and then we were on the, and he wanted, he wanted to take it in the water. He wanted to take it under the bridge. He was so happy because we were getting great footage.
Yeah.
And that was why I was so fortunate to click with so many people that really wanted to do this project. And it was all a labor of love. I mean, I don't make much money. I'm a teacher. So with the money that I make, forget about it. I cannot pull the resources. And I think that Florida, that I'm learning all this, but it seems like still the resources to make film like this kind of film is not yet geared so well.
Yeah.
Either you come from big investment that could come from Hollywood or some other places, or investors that know about it and want to invest. But to start, it seems that I was very lucky. That's the truth. I feel like I've been very lucky. Though, I have to say, I've been working my way to this point by doing a lot of work with simple cameras, SLRs, and all the cameras that look beautiful things. And I think that leads
progression,
to get an opportunity like this one. So I'm not saying there's no possibilities, but we're not walking in LA where the money for movies seems to be more geared towards this kind of investment. And in a way, it's probably good because it kind of polishes the craftsmanship to a level of doing things very, trying to get the most out of what we have. And that kind of thinking, I think it helped me a great deal.
Limitations are a good thing in art making, right?
Yeah, I think so too. Like, I feel like the product or the result you have is always something that might be unexpected, and it's better for that reason, because I feel like if you do have all the resources, like sometimes things get very repetitive and I've seen that before, but something that we've enjoyed, or at least I know that I've enjoyed for sure in your films, it's like you show us a perspective of Miami and of South Florida that not a lot of people get to see. It's like you reveal these lush tropical kind of sort of like surreal paradises that it's like you can't access. You have to access through water, you have to access through something else, and it's like you have to seek it out.
And it's not just like there's something mystical and fairy tale-y about the places that you choose, right?
Yes.
For example, like a scene that I saw in the shortcut, but then also in that is also in the long version. the dancer that is under the bridge, under the bridge, over the water with all the sandbags moving in this small space. I imagine it would smell really bad in there, and it's kind of creepy. It's like this.
But it was so
beautiful. How do you call it? It's like a canal, but it's a canal under a bridge.
It's like underneath a bridge. It's like, how do you? I guess. What's your question, Maria? Because I know what mine is.
No, it was just like this amazing shot, and it was, I mean. We can talk about limitation being great, but that shot you can't really do with a camera that is not as good as the camera that you had, right?
You could. You could do the shot. You could do the shot. It just you push it even further on the enhancement of the beauty of collecting the light into the camera. So the camera helps definitely. That's for sure.
But the texture that you had.
The texture. So I wanted a film camera. But you know so that's a conversation can go for a whole hour. But so
perfect. We have time.
To summarize, I guess that space. I work a lot looking at the location first and imagining what could I do there, or let the location speak for me. I tell my students a lot, you know, the best way to keep the money in your pocket and get the best out of your places that you have is build stories around what you have around you. Like, don't, you know, because if you imagine it, you're gonna make a film in a moon landscape. Well, you know, we're gonna need to recreate some moon scenery here, and that's gonna probably take a lot of time. Or maybe you have like here, maybe you have a big sand pile of sand, and maybe that will be your moon landscape. And if you already have that, and you know where it is, go for it. But the way I most of the time work is I look at the locations and I let the locations speak to me. Mm-hmm. And I say, like, this movie came, I was living in El Portal already for 4 years. And I knew that I wanted to tell a story from that place because I would take my paddleboard on that river.
So beautiful.
And look at it. You know, every other day I was on the paddleboard, and that's my way to relax. I would come from a stressful city and suddenly connect with nature in a matter of seconds, and I felt that in a few minutes I was somewhere else. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. I discovered that, and I'm so grateful, you know, to William Ray. He's the one who found that place for me.
You know him.
Yeah. William, if you hear this, thank you so much.
Well, you
gave me a great time connecting me to Carlos. Carlos is the landlord, very peculiar character.
The landlord in the video?
It's in the movie. He's the one that opens the door, my landlord.
Yes, asks for the money.
Yes, yeah.
And he's also in the Biscayne Poet.
He's also in Biscayne Blues.
So good. I love that
Carlos.
actor is great.
He's from Portugal, but he lived in Venezuela for a long time, so him and me click very well. He's so unique. He's such a great guy. And so what I was talking about Carlos, because of El Portal.
El Portal, the location.
I let the locations
and the river.
Talk to me and say, what can I write about? Mm-hmm. Now, it took me 4 years before actually the story started developing. I didn't rush it, but I knew that I could not wait much longer. I felt like this is time to write something. And I was actually working on a feature film script, and I stopped the feature film script, and I went there immediately into the short film. And I felt I can pull off a short film now with my resources. I won't be able to do the feature film yet. So let me try to do the short film, and then once that film is done, I may pull some resources to make the feature film. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, I'm thinking a little bit different. I think that after Senu is almost completed now, I have the feeling that this should be the feature film. Mm-hmm. So I should pull it a little bit longer. Right now it's 24 minutes long, mm-hmm. and I could write easily to make it 85, which that's more or less the shortest of the feature film size, right? Mm-hmm. So I want to maybe make Senu a feature.
And add more scenes within the actual narrative that you already have.
In the context.
Incorporate it to expand.
I think I may splice it and open it because I like the ending. It's very solid. The ending is I feel it closes.
It's circular to the beginning. I told her, I'm like, this is the beginning shot. So I recognize that.
And the beginning with the train is also a great start with the dream sequence, which was sort of inspired with one of my favorite films from Federico Fellini, which is 8.5. And that's
Seen it. Have you seen it?
I haven't yet.
you haven't seen it? You should watch it. It's an intense film. It's a very I think it was Terry Gilliams that says on the Criterion Collection that it's like a hall of mirrors. It's a film within a film within a film, because it's Federico
That
Fellini
explains a lot.
talking about a filmmaker's process of making a film. So he used an alter ego, which is Marcello Mastroianni, and he plays, I think, himself. You know, he's playing a director who is going through a crisis that he doesn't is able ever to actually make the film. But what you are watching is really the filmmaker process, and 8.5 is like that. And I think I borrowed that from Fellini in this film.
The layering.
Because it's about it. In this case, it's a musician that can come up with a music, and he has the pressure of the agent who is, hey, give me my song.
The gorilla mask.
The gorilla mask.
Person, yeah.
The gorilla.
But we were talking about that. We were saying like there are like 3 different films in it, right? That
Like there's like a layering that's like overlap. Some are like dream sequences / reality. So like we could see like what you mean by the
there is like this where it's more like
weaving.
dialogue driven, right? Where there's a real interaction in a real plane, and then there is the level where it's still reality, but it's more like in the dance through the movement and the masks. Or also the scene we were talking about in the canal in the tunnel. It's movement and it's the sound of the flute. And then I always love when you go like all out into like fantasy land, you know, and you do like the. So basically, your character is flying away in the refrigerator, and there is a woman person in that refrigerator talking to you, you know, and so I love when you do that. You kind of break the plane again, you know, so you break the plane from a Hollywood-esque, not Hollywood, but this dialogue-driven drama into like a dance film, and then into surreal dreamland, right? It's like, and that's why I think you can easily make like
85 minutes for sure,
like a feature film out of it, because each separate level you kind of just started, right?
I have a few routes to go for the feature, but the thing that I would like to do if I actually go into that direction is to get investment, to be able to, you know, pay everybody in the set. Because right now, like for instance, the refrigerator scene, I had to build a ramp. It was an inclined 45 degrees, more or less, or 30 something degrees ramp that I built on my girlfriend's backyard, and then now I live there. So now that's where we both live. But at that time it was her backyard, so I had to kind of borrow the space, and we did it there. And I invest so much money in materials, you know, Home Depot credit card. Really, that's what I did, and I'm still paying that. And I tell you, I love to do that, but at one point I said, you know, this is having a toll on me. And now I'm like, man. So the point is, if I'm going to do a feature film, I need to get investors that are interested, want to put the money. It's not going to be that much because I know how to really work with resources.
Yes. Yeah.
But and I want to be able to pay everybody. I was fortunate that Lázaro Godoy commit to do it, and Carlota Pradera, you know, they both are the soul of those performances that they did,
wonderful
the refrigerator
dancers,
and Under the Bridge.
Performance artists, yeah.
And of course, all the team that was part of the La Gauguin scene, the Paul Gauguin's painting with the mask.
And we should give a shout out to Elba and Edwin.
Yeah, Edwin Villasmil and Elba Martinez. They both. Elba did that beautiful mask where Paul Gauguin scene is. I call it the Paul Gauguin because it's a representation of a painting called "Where Do We Come From? What Are We? And Where Are We Going?" And she created this beautiful mask. I could not believe it when I saw it. It's like, Elba, por Dios, you are so amazing. And she's amazing. And I'm in debt with her. This is like, what a beautiful piece of art she made.
Yeah, and they're both artists here at the Big House Art Complex.
And they both have a studio.
Yeah.
Edwin also, scenography. All that scenography in that place was made by them. The place where is standing the person dancing with the mask, it all was done with a labor of love. It started raining that day, and I wasn't even sure that we were going to be able to film. And they use paint in their bodies, and so we have artists applying paint, and the rain was moving that. And I said, you know what? Let's use this. This is beautiful. The rain is beautiful, and we filmed the whole thing during that drizzling. And then later we had another scene with the river, with the rain.
Yeah, at the end.
And I felt this is perfect because we're going to be able to match the one with the other. And it's going through and the water is such an important element in this film that I said, rain is more water.
Yeah, I'm curious about the sound because you mentioned the sound of the cicadas from your first video when you were a child, when you were 8 and you were filming, and that jumped you into the sound of the cicadas. You layered with the sound of the train at the beginning of this film that we're talking about now. The sound of water, do you acquire that sound yourself? Do you record it? Could you talk a little bit about how you go about sound in your film?
Very fortunate to work with Jorge Gomez Abrante. He is... I rank him top of the line in his craft. He's also a beautiful human being. And he composed all the music for the film. Everything in the film was composed by him. All the sounds and even the train recording was done by him. He's very experimental and he loved doing crazy stuff. We tried hanging a microphone from a drone like 250 feet high and hanging, actually it was something like what you're using to record. And then a zoom. And then we wanted to experiment recording the highway from the drone to see if we could collect the sound from above of this. We did a lot of different crazy experiments. And one of the sounds of the river, actually, we use it a lot in the tracks. It's hydrophones, underwater microphones. And those collect the sound of the river on the water, which is so captivating.
Yeah, that is really still stuck in my head. Also, the sounds of the water. I wouldn't have known it's underwater,
like
but
bubbles,
the bubbling and the flowing of the river. That was kind of.
He had all the high-tech recording devices, and we put the microphones on the. We went on the river together to do. We did a series of sessions, and he actually recorded musicians on the boat. Under the I-95, playing the trombone, playing different instruments. And under I-95, the sound that it gets under the water, it's all the cars going by above. So you hear the all of that and collected through the water. And so it creates a very interesting sound, and that's what I use when Lázaro is performing
in the tunnel in the canal.
And then also he manipulates the sound in post-production. And right now I'm actually audio mixing. So this week we are working with the studio, doing all the audio mix.
And you have a recording studio or?
No, the audio studio is from oh man, I'm so bad with names. Heights. It's a Haga. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing it right, but it's located in downtown, and they are right under the Filmgate new building. In fact, I think. Diliana and them has a partnership from Filmgate, and he's fantastic. Adrian is just a genius. He's just so attentive to the details, and so we're working together to put all the soundtrack. What you hear is still in the process, so it's going to be even more amazing.
No, it was quite good. I was like, I wonder if he records it or what he does, because I feel like it's almost a character in your film as well, the sound. It feel like there's a different pace to it, obviously, throughout the narration that happens. But I do feel like I expect to hear it, and when I don't hear it, I feel like it's missing. Like the character has disappeared. So I feel like the integration of it, I really enjoyed that.
And that adds to the surrealist aspect of the film. Like that scene with the swimming pool on the water where she is with the mask, talking on the phone, and we hear this background noise. One thing I want is not to hear the water in that scene. I didn't want to hear because there's a man in the back going like with the
splashing with his feet.
Splashing, and I didn't want to hear any water. I wanted just to hear the phone, to create that distance of the glass and the water. If you're missing one sound, your mind wants that sound, and because it wants it subconsciously, it creates a void. And now I'm using that void to create, to immerse the audience.
Yeah.
And I feel it work. And I have the dogs barking. I always wanted those dogs barking in the background, woof, 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 like very annoying, like aggressive, because the character of Eva is aggressive.
Yeah. And she has this bark also in her voice, like it was really like, and the gorilla mask also.
And the gorilla mask like this.
Yeah. Great. What are your strategies with like getting funding for a feature film? Is it like, are you thinking about Kickstarter or Indiegogo, or are you more like looking into grants, like bigger grants from? Is Filmgate helpful with financing, or is it really that you have to find private investors?
I tried the Kickstarter and Indiegogo. We use it to fund Biscuit Blues. I got part of what we request, but it was very difficult. I think it's a full-time job, so if you have somebody behind it doing all the, email blasting and this and that, then it may work. In my case, I didn't have the muscle to do it, and I felt this is probably not gonna work, especially for a feature film. We require so much work.
You need a big budget, right? You need how much do you need?
It would be around 100,000 for the feature film. Yes, especially post-production and production. It's what pre-production, I can do it on my own time and invest in my own resources. But when it's time to rent equipment to do it, that camera is about the cheaper that you would get, and I got it, by the way, as a
alone, yeah.
That's why he's executive producer.
I mean, well, that makes perfect sense.
That's why I'm giving my friend Hernando
credit for
because he put all the resources. Yeah. Without the camera, we wouldn't have be able to make that beautiful photography.
Yeah,
that's the truth.
No, it's kind of gorgeous.
I mean, it's not just the camera; it's where you put it. But without the camera, you cannot collect that that vision.
Yeah,
and so it's. It may run between 1,000 to 1,500 a day of film. And if you're doing a feature, this film was shot very differently from any other film that I'd done, in the sense that it took a lot of days to film one page. Usually in traditional standards, you film about, to be safe, maybe 3 pages a day. 3 pages a day is a good average. Nowadays, independent filmmakers are becoming so savvy that they film 7, 8 pages a day. I don't even know how they do it, but they do. Some of them.
They put everything like...
Yeah, I mean, it's
so streamlined, and it's like so... And the actors are so prepared, probably, and they just have to save the money also, right? That's why they are putting it so close together.
Totally. But in this film, and I know differently from any other film that I've done, we didn't shoot not even 1 page a day. The script was 10 pages, and it's been 20 days probably of shooting.
Wow.
And so it means half a page a day. But it's a lot full of details and very hard environments.
Yeah.
So it could not be done differently. And also the narrative is very visual.
Yeah.
It's not really dialogue.
Yeah, we were talking about it. It's not a dialogue-driven film. There are only parts of it.
Elements.
Where you have like dialogue, and then a lot of it
within
is really
one
visual
scene.
story.
Yeah,
visual story.
It was ambitious, for sure.
I'm curious because from Boston to come back to Miami, Boston is a little bit closer to New York, I would think. And since you were doing film, I'm curious, what made you shift from graduating college, your 4-year program, and deciding I want to pursue my MFA, I want to go to Miami instead of maybe deciding let's go to New York? What drew you to Miami or LA? Yeah. What drew you back here?
Okay, that's a dark story.
Oh no!
Are we in the 4-minute?
No, we still have some time
for the dark side of the story.
It's time.
I graduated from Boston, which is a city that I love so much, and I got the homesick after leaving Boston. I went to LA for a short time, and let me make this short. I was in the midst of a crazy life. And as I just went overboard with my party and my drinking and my
very LA
life, you know, but not so much in LA. It was already coming from in Boston.
From Boston.
I mean, I adore Boston. I have a blast in Boston, but I was just drinking the wine on a daily basis and just getting so, you know, artsy life kind of stuff with no control. And so I can also went in decay emotionally. You know, so much abuse you get. I mean, some people can tolerate. I wasn't that kind.
Yeah.
And I went a little bit down the hill and fall into depression. And then after being in LA for a little bit, went back to Venezuela. And I couldn't find myself in Venezuela. I stayed 1 year there and I was struggling. I really was. I couldn't find myself there. And that, with the style of life that I was having, wasn't helping anymore, you know. So I came back to the United States actually to get help. And so I came here to start, you know, a life of recovery. And so that's what brought me back to Miami. My brother was living here. He was in Fort Lauderdale. So I spent some time in this process of finding myself again. And in the midst of that, I decided, you know, I'm going to keep going with my career. And so I decided to do the master's degree at Miami International University of Art and Design, also called AI. So I found it right there in downtown. I did a year and a half, got my master. And that's how I continue. Now, very different student environment than the one in Emerson. Very different, very lovely too, but different. I got great professors at AI. My editing professor, Álvaro Bertrán, you know, what a great man. He would say when we were in the class, hold your horses. Hold your horses. When people, I love that. I borrow that when I teach.
When you teach now.
Hold your horses. I can see him saying it. I love the experience. Though I was in a whole different process at that time. I was recovering. I was going into, you know, you leave the bottles of wine for something else, whatever it is, sport or. It was a change, but I'm glad I did, and I'm now, you know, I'm more focused.
You journeyed back and you found your path again, which I think is quite incredible.
And I found that this comes to the I think you told me that in the narrative of Senu, I have parts where it seems to be more abstract or surreal, and then there it comes back to narrative, and I also find myself in certain points where I started debating, like, should I devote more time into art films or video art or expressing myself just through the format of video and find a gallery system to really portray my work? Or should I devote my time into more traditional narrative and make films per se? And I now find that I can do both. I just had one film played at the Miami New Media Festival called Remo Memories that was born in the same time that was born Senu. And I finished it. And that film actually, which was done very rapidly, well, rapidly in the sense that I already had a lot of footage shots, so it's a collection of stuff that I had from years. But I put it together fairly rapidly, maybe 3 weeks of work, hard work, and I put it together. And that film took me to Cuba with another group of artists, and you know, it's just. But this is very more abstract and different kind of film. It doesn't have the narrative or dialogue-driven that Senu has.
But it
And
just
it's
shows
done
you can do
more
both.
raw materials like video cameras and even Super 8 millimeter.
I guess now comes a time in our webisode that we could ask you, do you have any projects coming up that you're interested in, or any like shows that you just mentioned, this one that you exhibited in Cuba and also at the film festival? Anything that you might be excited about continuing in Senu?
Yes, I have a project coming up. I'm part of the residency at Miami-Dade College Live Arts.
Oh, wonderful.
With another 5 artists that are fantastic.
Excellent.
Pioneer Winter, Ana Mendez, Dale Andrew, and it's just Jura, which is a musician friend of Jorge Gomez, Jurai. And so, it's just been an amazing time with them. And I'm putting together a performance with the concept of Senu, but it's going to have projections. And I want to build a big. I need to talk with Elba Martinez. Maybe she wants to create this, and I have some money this time for do that. I want to make a big scope, like the size of that bicycle, and I want to have a character that goes in and out, and I want to put a pulley with cloth, like a miniature clothing, and coming inside the eye of the skull, and bring the cloth inside. It is the concept of time, death, life, and time. And I use the sculpt not as a spooky kind of thing. I think I'm more inclined to use it as the Mexican does. I'm very existential in this sense of dealing with the matter of death as something very hard to overcome, but at the same time that if we accept it, then we actually enjoy life even more because we appreciate life in its whole spectrum. And in this piece, I want to use that sculpt in the middle of the stage, maybe throughout the entire play. It's
going to be a live performance.
Like
it's a live performance
installation
with projection. It's an installation with dancers and live performance.
When is that going to happen? Do you know?
Next year.
Next year.
I don't
At the
have
end of the live arts residency.
Yeah. Which it was supposed to be presenting in around March.
Okay.
Maybe it's going to extend a little bit longer, but I put so much energy in the film that I had to now create. It's already done, so. Now this is the time for me to put together the piece.
That's great.
And it's coming from Senu, so it's not that I'm working from
scratch. It's like there's a lot of material.
Yeah.
If you put it on your website, we'll be putting Claudio's information on our website. So for you to update, people got to see and connect and figure out when that opening will be.
We are already at the end of our
It goes by so fast.
Elisa always says that, but we have a final question, my final question.
I have to learn how to
You
say that.
have been sitting on a magical rocking chair, really, not kidding. And it grants you 3 wishes. You can wish for anything, but you have to say it loud.
For it to come
Otherwise,
true.
it's not going to come true.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So what are your 3 wishes?
You know, I want to have a studio like this, and be able to work very creatively and have a lot of materials to work with and networking, and not be so stressed about paying the bills at the end of the month.
That sounds like an awesome wish.
And I want to be able to do that.
Into the universe.
That's
Please.
my wish.
Number 1.
You got 2 more.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Okay, second wish. Wow.
What about the 100,000 for your film, your feature film?
Well, that's actually
That
goes into number 1. That's number 1.
That's number 1, right?
Yeah,
so let's.
you still have 2 wishes.
Okay.
You still have 2
Number
wishes.
2.
Don't take his wishes away from him.
Okay. I wanna start flying again.
Yeah.
I want to fly either single engine airplanes or paraglidings or something that keeps my feet above the ground for a little bit, right? So I want to gliders. Oh, these days there are gliders
On the motorboat, the paragliders on the motorboat. Do you like those?
I like that more or less. I mean,
really.
I love paragliding, but compared to just going from a hill, I think
not
it's
the same.
very different. But I would, that's something I could do. But I there's this sort of hang gliders, but you're in a little cabin and you can actually fly it with a joystick.
Without an engine.
Without engine.
It's called Segelflieger.
Like the
in German.
Swift.
Thanks.
What is it?
Segelflieger.
Segelflieger.
It's actually it's like a hang gliding, but
Careful.
Oops! Oh, you
go
have.
too far. Yeah,
Sorry about
You
that.
have to stay here. I'm
And
so
then
sorry.
and you stand up and you jump from a hill,
Yeah.
like a hang glider.
Yeah,
so
but
I'm
you
thinking
can
maybe I
also
get
have
into
a
one of
plane
those.
pull you up, and then you glide on your own in your little plane without the motor.
Like a glider.
That's like a glider. Yeah.
Gliders. Gliders these days they have their self-propelled engine that comes from the fuselage.
Fascinating.
And they're now with electric technology that the motors don't have to be gas.
Oh, okay.
So they use batteries and
Okay.
it's becoming very, very trendy.
High-tech, yeah.
I can totally
Expensive
see you in
though.
that.
That's
Very
a good
expensive.
second wish.
Second wish. Third wish.
Flying and flying. I wanna get a house, and so right now I'm renting, and I wanna grow with my partner further and build a beautiful house and have a place that we call home, and it's all made to our wishes.
I like that.
And
That's beautiful.
decorate it in a fashion that we both like, and that would be my third wish.
Your third wish.
Which is not necessarily in that order. It could be first.
No, second. No, whichever
It's
order
just
comes
like
in.
those three.
Hey!
All right.
Well, thank you so much, Claudia, for coming out to sit with
Claudia,
us.
for coming and chatting with us.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a great night. I love it.
And thank you so much to our listeners for tuning in again to Rocking Chats.
Our 30th volume. Next week we will have artist Tina. Can you say her last name for me?
Salvesen.
Thank you. Exactly.
Tina Salvesen is coming
Tina
up next
Salvesen.
week. Tune in again on Monday, late at night. We're going to upload.
Okay.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Guys. Bye.